Hello, everyone. This is your host, Alex Valgood, and this is Leap of Health. And today we have Dr. Carrie Rigoni. She's a chiropractor. You also do a little bit of kinesiology. You do integrative neuroimmunology, which is like you specialize in that, and you do a bunch of other things. I see on your profile here, and I love that. I think it's great that you're combining all these different modalities. And today we're going to be talking about the vagus nerve, which is so important.
Yes.
But before that, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you become this healer and this entrepreneur. I know you're a creator too online. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me here. I graduated as a chiropractor 13 years ago, and I had a lot of my own health issues at the time. And I was always in search of, I guess, a resolution. I didn't buy into the fact that it would be my reality for the rest of my life. Any label or whatever. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome when I was 23. And so I spent a lot of time feeling really unwell, really tired in bed, with a lot of time to research what would help me. And, my journey was trying all of the diets, all of the supplements, all of the, everything. And it wasn't until I discovered the nervous system that I was like, this is what I've been missing. So, I was working through that time when I was really unwell, still seeing patients and trying to find solutions. And then I discovered this other chiropractor who was working with the vagus nerve and the nervous system. And I saw him for myself, and I just had so much profound change in such a short period of time, that's what I decided to retrain in. So while I still, fall under the umbrella of chiropractor, I'm slightly out of the box, I guess you could say, in my approach to the body. And it's very much around, first and foremost, creating safety within the nervous system, allowing the vagus nerve to work the way that it's supposed to, and then moving through what other health issues someone may be concerned with.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And you say you're a chiropractor outside the box. I will say to you, you're actually a chiropractor within the everything. So, I feel like whoever is within the box needs to get out of the box and integrate a lot of these modalities that are just helpful for everyone. If you're a practitioner, are just going to help you in so many ways. And so I love that you did that and that you're doing that now. And so we all know the nerve system is just so important, just in every aspect. Tell us a little bit about what is the vagus nerve? What part of the body does it go through? Why is it so important, and why people are talking about it now?
So the vagus nerve is the largest cranial nerve in the body, and it goes from your brain stem, which is, a primitive part of your brain that almost drops down into the top of your neck. It's right at the base of your brain. And it travels down your neck, down the front of your neck, under your collarbones, into your torso, all the way down to your pelvic floor. So it has these little branches that go everywhere. The word vagus in Latin means wandering. And I love that so much, because it literally wanders through the whole body, like these little projections everywhere. So it has connections to every organ in your body, every essential organ. Well, every organ's essential. But what it does is it has fibers that run from the brain into the body. So it tells the body what to do, and it controls some of our bodily function. And a lot of people understand that part of the vagus nerve. You may have learnt about that in high school in human biology, like heart rate, blood pressure, the autonomic nervous system. But that only makes up for about 15% of what the vagus nerve does. The other 85% is working from the body to the brain. So it's a sensing nerve. It senses what's going on in your internal environment and your external environment, and it provides your brain with feedback as to whether you are safe, whether there are threats in the environment, whether, you know, your gut is inflamed or perhaps you're fighting something. It's very big in providing your brain with the messages it needs to be able to respond appropriately to the environment. So ultimately, it tells our brain, the fight flight center of our brain, whether it needs to turn on. So if your vagus nerve is struggling to work, and what some people refer to that is low tone, then it can't ever muster enough safety to tell your fight flight centers to turn off. So you get stuck in this perpetual fight flight. And then we know that chronic stress and chronic sympathetic nervous system activation leads to a bunch of symptoms and outcomes that are not good for our health. But ultimately, in many people, it can come back down to how well the vagus nerve is actually providing a sense of safety for you in your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people that, like as you experienced, you were having chronic fatigue. And a lot of people just could be like, well, it might be this, it might be that, and skip that it might have been, the vagus nerve, which is kind of like what is telling you something that's not functioning correctly. What are some of the symptoms that perhaps people skips, not thinking it might be the vagus nerve, and then they're just like either not treating it or doing something else?
I think it's very individual. That's a very big question. Most people who have some nervous system dysfunction will have a level of chronic stress. Now, for some people, that might come out in your gut. You may have been diagnosed with irritable bowel, or, tummy aches that you can't get rid of, or maybe, you keep getting, maybe you've tried to treat gut imbalance and it keeps coming back. You can never seem to resolve it. Perhaps you've tried a bunch of diets and they maybe help short term, but they never last, or nothing ever holds. You might find that you plateau. Other people may have more mental health. So perhaps some anxiety, some strong phobias, some depression, things that, are happening more up in the brain. Mm-hmm. And then, other times you may just have insomnia or jaw pain. It really, chronic stress can manifest really differently in the body for everyone. But I would suggest that if you're on a path of healing and you're trying lots of diets and detoxes and, all of the things, and you're not really seeing a big shift, then the nervous system will have a big role into why you're not shifting.
Mm-hmm. How do we fix this, or how do we help these to get better? Do you combine the chiropractic to align? Do you get just adjustment and then these gets help, or is there some sort of treatment? How do we help the vagus nerve if, let's say, for example, I have some sort of a digestion problem and it's just not going away, and I'm like, oh, maybe it might be my vagus nerve. How do I go about this?
Yeah. So, in my clinic, I do body work to support a sense of safety inside the body. And I do there are a lot of physical things we can alter in the nervous system or in the body that can alter the nervous system and just bring the stress down a little bit. So that's my approach in my practice. If you're listening, from elsewhere in the world, some things that you can do are measuring your heart rate variability. So getting a measure of where your nervous system sits. There's heaps of devices out there that do that. The simplest thing to do would be to try a few vagus nerve exercises and see how your nervous system feels. So some people jump straight in. And these exercises can take, 30 seconds, but they can be very powerful. You can go too hard. So some people jump straight in and they feel really rotten after. And it's like, well, yeah, you probably like haven't stimulated your vagus nerve ever before. And now your body's in a state of shock, like you can go really gently. But it's a good way just to see. Now, what I tell people though, is if you stimulate your vagus nerve, so if you, I usually send people to my story highlights. I don't know if I can do that on the podcast, but I have a story highlights on Instagram with a couple of different exercises that are like packed for, like really good. If you do them and you feel good, but if you stop doing them, you feel bad again, then there's something else going on. If you do them and you feel great and then you don't have to do them forever, your nervous system starts rebalancing, then it's probably just the vagus nerve. But if you have to do it as a Band-Aid every single day just to get by, then there's probably some other things that are affecting your vagus nerve that you need to get to the bottom of to pull you out of that stress response.
That's great. And yes, we can actually, I will, obviously at the end of the show, I will definitely put all your information and also all your links from your social media so people can actually see all these videos and all that. And I think those are very great resources, because I think now, people can go online and see a variety of, you could just literally Google vagus nerve exercise and you'll find like a million of them. And it's just, I see these as like another health tool for my tool belt, healthy knit around me. And it's just great, right? Because sometimes, as you said, you don't want to just use anything as a bandage ever. You want to actually get to the bottom of things and see the root cause of what is happening to you. And, if this gets aligned and gets balanced, great. But if it's not, you might need some other tools to keep on finding about what's going on with you. But I think this is really good. And I think the exercises are pretty simple too, most of them. And I do them sometime. I do the one where you kind of like, put your tongue out and kind of like stretched out. And that just feels really great.
It does. Yeah.
It just feels good. If you have never tried it, please do. For everybody that's looking at me, you let me know if I'm doing it right or wrong. We'll just do this, right? And like about, whoever is watching, they saw me. But if you're listening, either go back to the video or just, go to all these links for Dr. Carrie's videos and there's a bunch of them, right? How many exercise? So in order to see if it's the vagus nerve imbalance, how many exercise would you say people can do for self-care and just kind of like realign and see if it's that?
I would absolutely only start with one.
Okay.
And then see how you feel. Yeah. That's coming from my bias, which is that everyone that I see in my clinic is really burnt out and their nervous system is really struggling. So we have to remember that the nervous system is metabolically active, just like our muscles. And if it's already really tired, then you don't want to do 10 exercises. That's like, going for a long run. You want to start really gentle and just do one and see how you feel.
So like, let's say, so like the one that I just did, you just do it and hold it? Or that was like one of my questions. I'm like, okay, now I know how to do the exercise. So do I just stick my tongue out like one time and then I'm done for the day? Or do I have to hold it for so long? Or do I stick my tongue out like 5 times, the morning? How do we do this exercise? I think it gets a little tricky when we watch all these videos, because I'm like, okay, yeah, that was cool. Like, for how long? I start thinking of all these little questions.
Yeah. So the problem is there's no right or wrong answer, because like I say, we all have a different metabolic capacity. So you might like to try and hold it until it goes from feeling good to feeling not so good, and then stop. Or you might like to try it morning and night and see if one time feels better for you than the other. But unfortunately, there's no rule book.
Well, it's great, right? Because we're all different. And what might work for me will not work for other people. So definitely, yes, definitely do look at the videos, look at all the exercise, and just try one and see how you feel. How do people go about the vagus nerve? So, because nobody, like, we don't get diagnosed like, oh, your vagus nerve is imbalance or it needs something. How do we know we need help, and when is the time that we're like, okay, we should look for a practitioner that does these type of things to help us?
Look, I think if you do try some of the exercises and you're not getting a shift in your nervous system, then you do need to dig into why. And that could be a body problem, like, needing some very specific body work or gut work, or, we know that trauma is stored in the vagus nerve and it could be more of a trauma response. So getting to the bottom of it. So if you've done some exercises and you're like, I can sort of feel a bit better, but I'm not seeing a big shift like other people, then that's when I would start seeking professional help. Yeah.
Okay. And you talk about trauma right now. What are some of the things people come to you when it comes to treating the vagus nerve? What are some of the conditions that they're like, oh, I have, bowel disordered, or what are some of those things that people come to you?
The majority of my practice is full of people who have either read my story and have a similar story, so like chronic fatigue, been through the medical system. I saw so many specialists who eventually told me it was in my head, I needed antidepressants, been through the gamut of practitioners and not gotten any results. And then they're like, oh yeah, I heard about this girl and she had a similar story, and this is what helped her. So I see a lot of people under that umbrella of, chronic fatigue, or unexplained illness. Maybe there's not even a label. People just don't feel good, but nobody can help. I also see a lot of children who have like behavioral struggles or dysregulation, like emotional regulation struggles, or even sleep issues. They're probably the biggest things that I see. Yeah,
that's awesome. Because how do you treat them? Do you combine the body work and the chiropractic care with those kids, or is it more like a diet? I know you do some nutritional stuff. How do you approach some of them?
Yeah, it's all in one. So first and foremost, I always do body work because the body does provide us a level of neurological safety. So if our body is really out of alignment, not moving against gravity the way it's supposed to, and our balance is off, or, where both sides of our body are not moving at the same rate, the brain just goes into like, wow, this is too much. So it already pushes us into that fight flight. So once we've calmed that stress response down a little bit with the body work, that's when I go into other things. So for some people that might be nutrition, for other people it might be the biofeedback, so supporting, teaching them how to regulate, and other kids, when we get their body in an environment that works better in the external environment, everything else falls into place. And sometimes we don't have to do anything on top of that. Some body work can go a long way for a lot of kids. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and it just sounds so hopeful and so awesome and so right, as opposed to taking all these kids that sometimes we'll label them as like troublemaker, or he's a brat or she's a brat or whatever, and then right we go on medicine, because that's just like our steps, right? We see a problem, we put some meds, and we try to like fix it with that. But meds are amazing with some things, but they're pretty not helpful in a lot of other things. And the thing with certain medicines is that they have so many side effects. And that's just kind of like terrible. At least that's just my personal opinion. And I just would like for people to try other things that are not going to have side effects, or that they're not really going to harm you as in a long term, as, you know, take medicine and things like that. So I think this is just amazing for anyone that's listening and that has kids or little nephews or grandkids or whatever, right?
Yeah. And I've now created like an online version, like compiling everything that I do in my clinic, but as like a group coaching offer. So for those who can't access me for one-on-one sessions in person, I've tried to replicate it so everyone can do almost all of it as much as possible from home to create that body safety for children. But it's for mothers and children, because we know that our children are little mirrors and they reflect us. So we can't expect that we just got to fix the child, because oftentimes there's a dynamic going on. Yeah,
for sure. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that, because I think also too, sometimes we want to fix the kid, and I'm like, well, how are the parents looking?
Yeah.
So it's great that you mentioned that too. So can people just sign up for this online, like, or do you also do this type of consultations through internet, through online services?
Yeah, so the group coaching is probably the best format for that. And I usually I'll do those in blocks. I've got one coming up in April. I do some one-on-one consults as well. Occasionally I do that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
The reason I say occasionally is just because my home clinic is so busy in person that sometimes I just can't add on the online offering as well.
Believe me, everyone, I know. It's just hard to get to, but you know what? She's so worth it. So, and it's awesome because you're in Australia, I'm in the United States, and whoever needs any of those services, and I mean, if there is a will, there's a way. And I'm just so happy that you're one of those practitioners that has some sort of services that way too. So this is awesome, because it doesn't matter where you are. You just have to kind of like arrange the time. So somewhere in the middle. But this is awesome, because a lot of people, whether they're at work or they need some sort of these services. So I think it's great, and I'm so happy you're doing those too. So that's awesome. Yeah. So I think all this information has been amazing. I think it gives us a better picture of why the vagus nerve is so important and what we could do for it. For anyone that is listening and wants to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
The easiest place is probably on Instagram. And I know you'll provide my links, but my handle is Dr. Carrie Rigoni. I share heaps of content on there. And if you wanted to touch base and ask any questions, that's probably the best place to do so.
Yay. Also, is there anything else that you would like to share before we go?
How about we do a vagus nerve exercise?
Yes. I'm all for it. That's great. They feel so good.
So, all right, I'm going to talk through it so that people listening can also, hopefully my description helps those people as well. So what I'm going to get you to do is link your hands together and then place it on the back of your head. And then we're lifting our chin a little bit, and we're just kind of leaning our head into our hands so our head feels really supported. Now, for the rest of this, we're not moving our head. We're simply going to move our eyes. Now, I want you to move your eyes just horizontally. So in a straight line, just choose one direction over to the side and find something you can fixate your gaze on. But I don't want you to force your eyes too far, just far enough that you're looking sideways. And ideally, you would hold that until you feel yourself sigh or yawn or have a deep breath. Mine does it really quick now because it knows what I want it to do. But some people, if your vagus nerve's low, this might take up to a minute. And then once you felt that release, you turn your eyes to the other direction and you hold that. And then once you've had 2 sighs or 2 releases, then that is it. So simple.
That was good.
Such a good one. You know, you can do it when you're driving. Like, even if you're like, you know, rushing to work or, you know, having a chaotic moment, you're like, I really need to calm down. You could just try that one. Even if you don't do it with your hands, you know, just moving your eyes. So helpful.
Nice. I love that. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try that one out since I've been trying the other exercises for a while.
It's easier to do in public than poking your tongue out.
That's true. That's true. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I loved it. Please do check all the exercise. I'm going to put all the links so you guys can do them all and see which one you like better. For any questions, do contact Dr. Carrie. And remember, if you want to check anything else that I'm doing, you can find me at alexspellgood.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, pretty much everywhere. Remember, too, my book is out and you can find it on Barnes & Noble. Do go ahead and grab a copy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doctor, for being here today. I hope everybody, you know, reach out to you for questions, for the group, for anything. And do try all the exercise. I think they're amazing. And it's just awesome to just balance your vagus nerve here and there. You know, give it some love. And I think you'll see the changes. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Doctor. And please do have an amazing and blessed day. Thank you.